All right, so I'm going to really quickly go over the manifest destiny part of the assignment for 3.1. First of all, we need to define what is manifest destiny. This is a very important term to the westward expansion era in the United States. And this painting is often a symbol of it. So the words manifest themselves, you break them down. Manifest means clear or obvious. Destiny is like your future or your fate. So let's give a little bit more detail on this. We'll come back to this picture in a second. So the main ideas of manifest destiny are as follows. Okay? The basic thesis is that the United States is destined to control all the territory from coast to coast. So from Atlantic Ocean to Pacific Ocean. This is, basically it hadn't happened yet, but people already knew that this would eventually be history, that we were already going to take over all of this empty, and I'm using empty in quotation marks, land, because remember, there are hundreds of thousands of Native Americans that live in this land, but they're just going to get steamrolled by this destiny of the United States. This becomes a cultural idea. It's taught in schools, it's talked about on the streets. Not every, but most Americans believe in this idea that this is inevitable, that eventually that the land will be conquered by the United States. And it becomes entrenched in the American ideas, the American mindset, that it's our right to own this land. Regardless of who lives there, regardless of who currently owns it, we will eventually take it. So here are the four main motivations behind the concept. First one is economics. I mean, this is land. It has resources. You can use it for farming, for cutting down trees, for building railroads, as you can see in the picture. The next is power. The more land, the bigger your country is, the more power you're going to be able to exert against other countries. It's kind of simple. So these are the two obvious reasons. These are reasons why any country has always wanted to take over land throughout history. But what makes Manifest Destiny special is these last two reasons. The first one is religion. American Christianity was different than European Christianity. It was very evangelical, meaning that it was the idea that it should spread across the world. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they were going to convert the Native Americans. They tried, but it was more about pushing the Native Americans to the side so that Christian settlers could take and use the land. So this was the idea that God himself has chosen Americans to own this promised land. And they really saw it as a new version of the promised land. The last part is race and civilization. The white Americans saw their own culture and their own civilization as vastly superior to the Native American cultures. They had more advanced technology. They had a big, large government that could do a lot of things. They had Christianity. All of these parts of the white civilization they viewed as superior to the brown-skinned Native Americans or the brown-skinned Latinos, Mexican Americans that lived out in the western parts of what is now the United States. So they saw it as their duty to impose their superior race and their superior civilization on these non-white people. Let's take a look at this image that we saw a few moments ago. This image is symbolic of Manifest Destiny. In the center, you have a religious or angelic figure floating across. And this is literally going from east to west. Okay? In the east, you can see in the background here cities. There's a bridge and some boats and some, this is supposed to represent like New York City or something like that, the civilized American world. And here's the technology that this religious figure is dragging behind her. It's the telegraph, the electrical line. Right here is a school book. You can see the knowledge is another representation of superior American culture. You can see railroads. You can see farmers and pioneers, a gold miner, a hunter, horseback guy. This is basically showing how the American white civilization is pushing to the west. And the symbolism in the color on either side. On this side is dark and scary and smoky and bad, and it doesn't look good. But on this side, it's so bright and heavenly looking, the rays of sunlight. So it's literally showing that the white civilization is bringing light to the world. And you can see the Native Americans here that are, half dressed, carrying bows and arrows. They look like they're fearful of the technology of the white civilization. The buffalo are also running away. And in the background, you can see like Native Americans dancing and, the stereotypical stuff about Native Americans. So it also is comparing, by putting them next to them, you can see the Native Americans are compared to the buffalo and also to this savage looking tooth bearing, like, I don't know if it's like a bear or a wolverine. Basically, it's comparing Native Americans to savage animals. Okay, so there's definitely a lot of racism that goes along with this idea. Okay, let's take a look at the assignment that you guys have to do, which is right here. You're first going to look at this map. You're going to read what the map maker says. Basically, it's saying, why did you decide to draw the map this way? Well, in this map, this is 1816. This is before the United States owns a lot of this territory out here. So basically, he's drawing this map to kind of show that we are going to take over that territory. Then you have 2 paragraphs by a guy named John O'Sullivan. He describes what he believes America stands for in this first paragraph, and then he describes how we should take over land. And it says, fulfillment of our manifest destiny to overspread the continent allotted by providence. Providence means God. So God is literally giving us this land. So make sure you answer those questions that go along with it. If you have any questions, please email me. But that is your assignment to make sure you get in before the weekend is over.